Hey everybody, welcome to this week's episode of Lifehacker. With me is Adam Dutchess.
Hello.
Whitson Gordon. I'm Adam Pash. We're going to try something a little new, try and move things along a little more quickly this week. So without further ado, let's jump straight into the news. Okay, so first thing, Bing got a big overhaul. They announced a big overhaul that's going to be coming in the next couple of weeks. Essentially what they're doing is they're creating like sort of a three-pane search result field where, page, where you get your regular results on the left, just like you'd expect from Bing or Google or any search engine. In the middle pane, there's going to be sort of more of a supplemental information. Google already sort of does this sometimes, but say if you look up a restaurant, maybe it'll be like a little map showing where the restaurant is, one of those sorts of things. And then on the far right pane is a social thing where basically it incorporates access to things like Facebook, Twitter, Google, even Google Plus. It's a lot like what Google claimed that Search Plus Your World was intended for, except for honestly trying to do that instead of just like a lame backdoor way of trying to get you signing up for and Google Plus and making it a more visible thing. It's actually an earnest attempt at bringing social into search results, which is really cool. I don't use Bing, but I'm actually thinking, I've been trying to try things other than Bing. I've been using DuckDuckGo, which unfortunately I don't like enough. Now I'm thinking maybe Bing should be the one that I try out.
It's funny to think that Microsoft is getting to a point where they're actually taking. I mean, they've tried so hard to overcome people after the big product has come out with Apple and Google and so on, and to think that they might actually get somewhere with search.
More inclusive.
Yeah,
Microsoft.
Yeah. I feel like Bing is starting to step up their game. I like the new interface looks a little bit cleaner. I kind of like the way that it's been looking lately. I feel like Microsoft's new strategy at this point, since they've kind of been out of the game for a little while, they're out of the forefront of the news. They need to be the slow and steady wins the race. They need
Shocking strategy too, that it's the strategy is let's do the things that let's really think about it.
Yeah.
And let's do something that's not as anti-competitive as everyone else.
Yeah.
I mean, they're still Microsoft. They're still out for their interest. Whatever.
Yeah, they're still the man.
But they're actually paying attention to what people want, which is
it's just good not to be the leader. Because then you're actually then they're like, okay, well, what does the user want, as opposed to Google, who's like, how do we make more money, or how do we funnel these people into Google is like the Yahoo homepage now. It's we are the portal for everything. Anyway,
and Windows Phone. And Windows Phone is the same way. I think that they're it's good, and they don't go overboard with it. Just kind of stick with it, and it could position yourself as an alternative, and don't try to. I think that if they just push through, they could actually produce some pretty good things.
Okay, so next, quickly, some updates on the Apple side of things.
Yeah, we've got an iOS update and a macOS 10 update, and most of them are pretty minor. The iOS 5.1.1, I think, brings a couple of bug fixes for HDR, or it adds better HDR support. That would be high definition. Or not high definition, high dynamic range photography, and it also and then the macOS 10 update brings some bug fixes with the Finder and resume features. Nothing really exciting here, but better,
unless you've been affected by these bugs.
Yeah.
With 10.7.4 though, the big thing was there was that password thing that affected very few people.
Was it?
It did. They didn't put it in the notes for the update, but all of the blogs were talking about this lesser known file vault vulnerability fix that was in 10.7.4. But they didn't put it anywhere in the notes about the update, which I thought was strange.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is weird.
So minor things, software updates.
But update, unless you're planning on jailbreaking or keeping your jailbreak for iOS 5, don't update.
Definitely don't.
Yeah.
Okay, so now Alan is going to join us, who this week did a feature about the weekly review, which is sort of one of the best whatever. I'll let Alan explain it to you. Alan?
Thanks, guys. So one of my favorite productivity techniques is this thing called the weekly review. It's a time every week for about an hour or two where you stop working, you put on your headphones, free yourself of any distractions, and you step up to about a 10,000 foot level and act like an executive of your own life, both personal and professional. So you reconnect with your work and ask yourself the question, why am I doing these things? Not what did somebody assign me or what to do next week. Just look at everything and say, okay, what's most important? Why am I doing this? Is this a good use of my time? And you do it for everything, whether it's your PTA meetings or your home renovations or the projects your boss has assigned you at work. So there's 3 pillars to the weekly review. There's get clear, where you organize your inbox, you get rid of any loose papers, you rearrange your workspace so it's functional for you. There's get current, where you review your calendar, you review your projects, you review your work, and you organize them in terms of priority. If there's anybody that you meant to talk to last week, you add a calendar appointment to talk to them next week. If there's anything that you forgot to do, you add it to your to-do list. You don't want to actually work during this period because you don't want to get bogged down with busy work when you're supposed to be reviewing things and acting like an executive. And then the last thing is get creative. This is a time where you stop and you think, how can I be a better, faster, stronger person? How do I do things more efficiently? Maybe there's a new app out there that will make some process that I do manually automatic now. Or maybe there's some new technique I can learn or some skill that will make my days easier. I do it. I walk through how anybody can do it in my post, and it's actually really easy, and you just need to put it on the calendar, build a checklist, and just start doing it. So I like to think I get the benefits from it, and hopefully other people can too.
All right, cool. Thanks, Alan. Now it's time to jump into some questions. All right, so our first question comes from a caller.
Hey, Lifehacker. I upload a lot of files to Dropbox and transfer things from computer to computer, so I always like to compress my files first. What would you say is the most powerful compression algorithm out there, or piece of software that utilizes that, so that I can get my files to as small as possible? Thanks, and love the show.
Okay, Whitson, I think this one's all you.
Yep. Okay, so there are 2 that I would recommend looking at. One is 7Z, as in the file format that comes with 7-zip, our favorite compression program for Windows. The compression is really good. It's completely free software. It works on Windows, and if you are willing to delve into the command line, you can get it on Mac and Linux as well. It's one thing that you're going to be doing if you're looking for something that's going to be compressing super small. You are going to be sacrificing a bit in speed. It's going to take a little bit longer to compress than something like Zip would, but that's okay. The other one that I would look at is RAR, which if you're a Windows user, you've probably heard of. It's a very popular program, WinRAR.
RAR.
Or WinRAR. RAR. It's the problem that I have with that file format is that it's pseudo Windows only. There's a program for Mac that can.
There's good stuff on the Mac.
There's I think there's okay, but it can unarchive, but it can't create them.
That's the
yeah.
So there is one program that can create it for the Mac, but I don't think it's been even looked at since 2004, 2006 or something. And I believe that there's a way to do it on Linux too. The other thing is the Windows version is, I believe, shareware.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
It's a great program, but I just find 7Z. They're comparable in terms of how small they'll get your files. Mm-hmm. I find 7Z is the best option.
I think there is something for the Mac that's named after a small rodent, and I can't remember the name of it. But if I do remember the name of it, it does a lot of different compression types. And if I remember it, I'll put it in the show notes.
Okay, because the thing about RAR is that RAR is proprietary,
right?
Which is why it's difficult to get it in other programs. Whereas 7Z is open source.
Yeah.
Which means that it's very easy to get it in a wide variety of programs.
If you've ever downloaded anything, you've probably used RAR archives. They're ubiquitous
They're
on the internet.
Popular.
It's just that you don't generally, if you're creating it, then it's a bit more of a pain. So like most things can actually unarchive things from RAR archives.
So if you were sending something to someone, that would be fine. If you felt like using WinRAR.
Yeah.
But anyway, so I would definitely take a look at 7Z and RAR if you want to. I've done a slightly more detailed look at a bunch of different file compression formats, so I'll put a link to that in the show notes, and you can check that out and see which one works for you.
Right, and your post is basically comparing like the starting size and the finishing size after compression.
But I don't think we went super detailed into the numbers we might have,
Whoa.
but it's not only how much it compresses, but how fast it is.
Oh, right.
And which one you should use depending on the operating system you're using and how ubiquitous it is for other people to open those files and things like that. So there was
There are
more,
always trade-offs.
Yeah, we kind of looked into more than just which compresses the best, but it definitely if you're looking for just plain file size, 7Z and RAR.
Cool. All right. Next question, also from a caller.
Hey, Lifehacker. I'm wondering if I can use a Magic Mouse and run Windows and Mac. Thank you.
Okay, so basically he wants to use Mac peripherals with his Windows machine too.
Mm-hmm.
So thanks to Boot Camp, that's possible. Apple actually posts drivers sometimes a little late, as you've noted, Whitson. But you can download them online, and you can just pull the individual drivers. You don't have to install them from Boot Camp. You can pull the individual drivers from Apple sites. So we'll include a link on your screen and in the show notes. You can also just Google, in this case, Apple or Bing, I guess. Apple Boot Camp driver update 2.2 is the one that includes the Magic Mouse ones. Mm-hmm. That will probably change in the future, but that's essentially what you're looking for, and you can install them. You can unpack that and install the drivers from that update.
So, and just to sort of expand on this question, because basically it's like Apple peripherals on Windows computers, right? Mm-hmm. Apple has they have really nice Bluetooth keyboards.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
None of those. Pretty much all of them should work. You have Apple's keyboard, of course, has the command key versus the
control key.
The control, or Windows. There's sort of but there are ways to work around that. You use, you have Windows running on a MacBook Air, right? And
I do.
You just remap your keys.
Yep, I just used a program called Sharp Keys that just remaps them in the registry. So, the command key acts as the same way that it does on OS 10.
Mm-hmm. And then lastly, actually, so if you ever want to splurge a lot of money on beautiful displays, the Cinema display. It's really irritating because they have only that what is it, a mini
display port.
Mini display port.
It's a mini display port is what it is, and you can't not most Windows computers don't have display port as a default output. So there are actually workarounds for that too. I got something that basically converts a DVI through to a DisplayPort thing and then out to the Apple thing. You can do that, or you can actually buy video cards that have mini DisplayPort, which is another thing I've done on the most recent Hackintosh I made, and that's awesome. And it totally works. Whatever. They're beautiful monitors. They are stupidly expensive, so it's a good place to get on thing to pick up on Craigslist, though, I have found. So yeah. Apple peripherals.
You can download the drivers
all
separately.
Of them you can work out.
But if you're on Boot Camp, you don't need to do that. You just go to Software Boot Camp Update, and it'll update it for you.
Cool.
And so our last question, a reader, Sweaty Steve, asks, I've been taking up walking outside during my lunch breaks. With the weather getting warmer, I'm noticing more and more sweat forming from the ambient heat. I need a way to quickly cool down and remove the sweat. Old Spice used to make cool contact wipes, which were amazing, but for some reason just discontinued them. Any suggestions? Okay, so I guess the first thing would be maybe to not get so hot in the first place. Maybe prevent the sweat. Sweat's obviously, it's your body's cooling system. It produces sweat. The sweat evaporates. Evaporation is cooling, and that's how the whole process works. That's great. You can sort of hack the process a little bit, though, and sort of cool down your body, do a little bit to preempt the sweat cooling. And to do so, Whitson actually wrote a post a while ago, but basically about identifying your body's cool spots or hot spots. Basically the points where you can cool down your body most effectively using maybe an ice cube, a cool rag, anything like that.
Just some water.
So those spots are basically the places where you can feel a pulse on your body. So your neck, your wrists, your inner thighs, your knee pits, your armpits, your elbow pits. These are all places, all your pits.
The wrist is easiest, though.
Wrist is
I
easy.
found it. You just pour some, you have your water bottle, pour a little bit of cool water on your wrist. Easy.
And if it's a matter of, I guess, de-smelling yourself, if you've already I don't know. I
Then
guess
take a shower.
some sort of wipes of some sort could probably be beneficial.
Well, hopefully deodorant.
I'm unfamiliar with the cool contact wipes, but that sounds like some sort of like any sort of those like makeup there are or like face washing wipes that you can get.
Right.
Mm-hmm. I'm assuming the cool contact maybe had a little bit of perfume in it as well to cover up the intense body odor. But at the end of the day, it's probably better just to preempt it if you can. So yeah, that's it for the questions this week. Now let's move on to some downloads.
So we've got some great downloads this week. First up, GIMP, our favorite free and open source image editor, Photoshop alternative, finally updated to version 2.8, which includes a great interface overhaul where it's just one simple window and layer groups and a few other advanced features and bug fixes. Next, we have Middleman, which is an app that I actually put together for OS X that syncs an iTunes playlist with almost any music device you can possibly think of, even just a USB drive, a Sansa clip, any Android phone you want. It's just a simple way to sync your music without having to drag it over yourself. We also have Dashboard X for jailbroken iPhones and iPod Touches, which puts widgets on your home screen, which is something we've been waiting for a while. There are a few programs that let you put widgets on your lock screen and so forth, but this puts true widgets on your home screen. Anything you can put in your notification center, you can put right on any of your screens next to your icons to see. We also have Flipboard, which is one of our favorite apps for iOS that puts a lot of your favorite blogs and Twitter accounts and other things into a very cool tiled magazine format, and that is finally available for Android. It's a leak, and some people, you might have trouble installing it depending on your device, but it is available a few weeks ahead of time, so you can check out our post on that and see where you can download the APK. We also have an app called Track 8 for iPad, which is essentially a Windows Metro-inspired music player for iPad. It's gorgeous. It works well. It's very smooth and looks a lot nicer than, frankly, the default iPad music app. So definitely check that out if you are a music junkie. We also have Media Preview for Windows, which is just a simple little utility that puts thumbnails on all of your videos in Windows Explorer. So previously, you could only see thumbnails for file types that Windows supported natively, like AVI. Now you have thumbnails for everything, MKV, 3GP, anything you can imagine. Just makes your video files a little bit easier to browse in Windows Explorer. And lastly, we have Sparrow Plus, also for jailbroken iPhones and iPod Touches. We've recently featured a program called Sparrow Push that gives you push notifications in Sparrow, our new favorite email client for iOS. This combines Sparrow Push with a feature that lets you make Sparrow your default email client on iOS. So anytime you click on an email link, it'll take you to Sparrow instead of the default mail app. So that's all we have for the downloads this week.
And that is all for the show this week. Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
If you'd like to ask us a question, send us an email at tips+asklhshow@lifehacker.com. Alternatively, leave us a message at 347-687-8109. Try to keep your questions to about 30 seconds so we can keep the show moving. And thanks for watching, listening, or however you're getting this podcast from the internet to your brain.
It's a very popular program, WinRAR.
RAR.
WinRAR. RAR.